Hey there, everybody. Just thought it was time that I kind of sat down and explained my issues with the free-to-play server for Allods Online. I know that I've put up a little bit of content on here already, and I've kind of expressed the fact that I like to play on the pay-to-play, but I thought I'd sit down and kind of explain why, my issues with the free-to-play, and why, honestly, I don't think it's actually worth time investment, especially not for a new player. Someone who's kind of been invested for a while might be able to make something out of it, but honestly, there's so much content that you're kind of gated from the beginning that without having, like, either spending a decent chunk in the cash shop or spending an absurd amount of time grinding just to be able to get to the point that you can start the grind for gear, that you're just kind of standing on a rat race treadmill before you even start the rat race treadmill of MMOs. So it's issues that I've got that I think would be best explained just by kind of giving you an example of what's going on. So I think what's probably best is that I actually just go over what's actually going on. So for mostly what my biggest issue has to come with the fact of, like, the currency exchange, which is an argument that a lot of people make towards the game itself being free-to-play, is that you can actually convert in-game gold into the cash shop currency. But the exchange rate is absolutely exorbitant. We're talking, like, almost 5,000 gold to equal one cash shop currency, the crystal shards, which normally wouldn't be that big of a deal in most games because, like, well, you can slowly grind your way to what you need. Well, the problem comes in of the fact that one of the major things that controls the power of your character compared to others is the rune system that this game implements. And basically, it's got a very strong feel to, like, the grind games that you'd find in, like, Korean grinders, in the sense that it continues to, like, build off of itself. So, like, you get, like, a level 1 rune, and you buy the materials required to make it. You buy the replicator and the gold chip, the gold dust, and then you realize there's another currency that you need, which is actually crystal chips. Gold dust can be bought with gold. Crystal chips must be bought with crystal shards. That's pretty clear. They give you, like, a little slider that lets you control how much crystal chips versus how much gold dust you use. So, like, you can slide one way and spend more of the cash shop currency to make the item and spend a little less in-game gold, and vice versa. So when you're going free to play, of course, you want to lean towards using as little cash shop currency as possible, since the exchange rate is so bad. Well, the problem is that the crystal chips, as they are set up in such a way that it costs you 2 crystal shards for 4 crystal chips. So this conversion rate isn't great, but that basically means that it's going to cost you around I'm trying to sit here and think of the math. It's like, for instance, this first upgrade that I sit here and try to show off, it costs like 20 crystal chips, which would cost you 10 crystal shards. So 10 times 5,000 is 50,000 gold, and that's only if you spend an additional almost 5,000 gold on just the gold dust. So that's 55,000 gold, and that's only to get a rune level 2. Well, to make a rune level 3, it actually requires you to have 2 rune level 2s. And so what that means is that you need another 55,000 gold just to make another rune level 2. And then you combine those two, and it costs even more gold dust and crystal chips to make 2 2s into a 3, and this keeps going until level 13, with each tier requiring another 2 crystals of the same level to go up 1 level. So you need 2 1s for a 2, 2 2s for a 3, 2 3s for a 4, and so on. And so what ends up coming down is you're spending large amounts of time or a decent chunk of cash in the cash shop to pay for all of these upgrades. And the percentage difference is insane. We're talking an obscene increase. Also, we have the patronage system, which what it does is it allows you to get bonuses from your deity, which your martyr or deity or whatever you want to call it, And they give you stat bonuses, they give you reductions to crowd control and other abilities that other players can use. So this is actually designed for PvP. Well, the problem that it's not very clear until you look in the cash shop is that you actually cannot become the Patronage level 5 without spending crystal shards. So you either need to grind for those shards or you need to pay for them. And so you actually miss out on a 50% attack damage boost and defense boost that paying players get or grinding players get. So what we've run into is the same problem of where you're spending a lot of money or an obscene amount of, well, a small amount of money, but it adds up after every single little thing you need to buy, or time. The other problem is that the cash shop is full of what's called premium items, which are not even available to buy unless you've spent so much in the cash shop within the last 30 days. And these items are even more powerful than what you're already paying a lot of money for. For instance, this level 13 rune right here, it's level 13 or level 12. Anyway, this rune right here costs you a bunch of money just to be able to just straight outright buy. But if you are a premium user, you can get away for paying cheaper because you've already spent so much money in the shop that they feel bad and they're going to be nice to you. So literally you can outright buy these runes out of your own pocket if you feel like, instead of grinding. There's also, like I said, Patronage, which not only do you need a cash shop item to be able to get away with actually getting to rank 5, but to get the crowd control benefits, you either need to do a daily quest that the rune smith or whatever the quest giver is called in your capital, he's got a repeatable quest that allows you to get your daily amount for mount feed, which is another problem we'll get to in a minute, and for your incense for patronage. But it only lasts for a short while. It's only for a day. You must do it every day. So it is a tedious task of a daily that is required for you to even get the benefits that someone who's already paid to get access to incense forever will have access to. The shop also sells mounts. That's fine and dandy, but the problem is that there's no means of gaining the fastest mounts in the game without going to the cash shop. I think they might have changed where you can get a fast-ish mount at level 60 in one of your chests that you open. I don't know for sure. I know for a fact they do it in the pay-to-play, but you can get mounts way before level 60. But mounts are mostly locked behind the cash shop, as well as a bunch of other things. For instance, these elixirs that boost your stats by a large amount for a large period of time with no statement of whether or not they work in PvP or not, which leads me to believe that you can pay money or grind out the points to have this potion that buffs you, instead of having to go out of your way to go find someone who's an alchemist to go and make this stuff for you. They also have these lock boxes, these chests, that give you random rewards, including crystal chips and whatnot. But as you go down these strong boxes, there's actually even these specialized mounts. What are they called? It's going to come to me in a minute. Anyways, they're like a piece of gear that you attach to yourself that level with you, but they allow you to play your regular class while having the boosted movement speed of a mount. So basically, your regular class can run around like crazy while also still casting spells, doing attacks, and all that jazz. Well, on the free-to-play, you have to go through the cash shop, and it's random if you even get it. So much of free-to-play is locked behind this cash shop, and I just don't know if it's worth a new person's time because of the amount of time that you would have to dedicate to even remotely think about catching up with people is absurd. And then you got to think about, well, then maybe I can just spend money. But you're jumping onto a rat race that you're never really going to catch up on. This is more or less me stating that on free-to-play, you will be encouraged to spend more money on one game than you have in literally anything else. And so, like I'm showing here with the runes, the thing is that the higher level your runes, the bigger percentage of a bonus you get. So these level 1 runes give you 3% defense, and I believe it's the level 1 runes on the attack side give you a little bit more than that. You get more bonuses out of attack. But at max level, I think your defense bonus sits somewhere around 75%, and your attack bonus sits somewhere around 150%. So the difference between someone who has no runes whatsoever and someone who has max runes is absurd. And the difference between each individual rune level ranges anywhere between, like, I think it's like 5 or 6% to as much as 17% difference in a single rune level. So you're literally setting yourself up for a treadmill if you're not going to spend money, and even if you do spend money, you're going to sit on a treadmill. So what we're looking at here is a situation where you're going to spend a lot of money for absolutely no reason. They've even got this set up for like daily rewards for you to do quests that are objectives. Most of them for early game are just getting to level requirements, doing certain story quests, and you get rewards, whether they be cash up rewards or not. But they've got like 3 different tabs that tie you to something that you buy. For instance, this right here, this Wheel of Fortune has a chance for you to earn something valuable, but it requires you to use crystal shards. So basically, there's even games of chance, not just regular loot boxes, but literally a slot machine that looks like a form of a slot machine. So much of the monetization on the free-to-play is designed to be predatory into getting you to want to pay money. Now, if you're just looking for a game to sit down and play, I completely understand your interest in in wanting to pay this because, hey, it's free, you didn't pay anything to get into it. But when we're talking about in-game content requiring anywhere from, I think, level 5 runes, and I may be wrong, it may be higher than that, I'm not sure, but you're expected to have a certain level of runes before you can even get a group to do content with you, unless they know for a fact they have to carry you. So, like, for instance, in this tab I'm currently in right now, I'm literally looking at basic convenience things that are not available in-game any other way. So it's not just, like, the power level, but there's, like, even the nickel and diming of convenience. I'm also now looking here at their Folio of Knowledge and Folio of Influence. And so, like, the scroll of, like, Spark stuff. That is another system that's in here that kind of bothers me because they actually outright show you on the screen, and I can even show you a little bit later, they actually lock half of the experience points you're earning, technically. I don't know if it's actually half or if they just duplicate what you're losing, but anyway, you only gain half the experience points that you potentially could be earning, and it's locked behind a paywall. You either have to, again, grind out the crystal shards, which you most likely will not be earning gold fast enough to afford it until you're at running in-game content that you can't actually run effectively because you don't have the effective runes. So first you start the grind to do runes. Then you've got all this locked XP that's practically worthless. But there is something that might be worth something to you, and it's these marks of fate, which basically are a form of currency that allows you to pay your way out of doing certain quests. Mostly they're generic kill quests. And they just kind of allow you to progress forward a little bit faster. You usually don't get the experience for doing kills, but you do get a small amount for spending the marks of fate, and then you still get the experience reward for completing the quest. And they, like I said, they lock half of your value, even if they want to sit there and argue that they never actually cut your value in half when they implemented the system. Half of the experience you could potentially be earning based off of how much they want to give you is actually locked behind some form of a paywall. So you actually are not leveling as fast as you potentially could. And so you find yourself in points where there's content droughts. Well, they've also started trying to implement methods for you to get around that, but really those methods were implemented more to speed level than it is to actually cover content droughts. And I'll cover that more in a later video about how you want to use those, no matter what server you play on. They also have the option to be able to pay for you to get to max level and to give you basic rune set. They've got a handful of other things like guild progression is locked behind the cash shop. You can get up to a certain point, then you have to pay money. Then you can get up to a certain point, and then you have to pay money. And then you get up to a certain point, and then you have to pay money. And so basically, some of this stuff is relatively cheap, like those chronicle pages, which are used for you to progress. This is something that bothers me, is that your stat respecs are locked behind these items right here. Your stats, the ability to reset your stats, and the ability to reset your skill points and your rubies, which are for your talent grid, are locked behind these cash shop items. And the cheapest one is 200. So you have to multiply how much gold you need for that item by 5,000, roughly. So the amount of time it takes, how much it costs to respec your character. And don't get me wrong, you get access to free respecs for, I think the shortest duration is 7 days. So you can respec your character for free for 7 days, but then after that 7 days is up, oh, too bad. And when they do like major nerfs and stuff for classes, they'll occasionally throw you one of those as like, or give you like a day, the day that you log in, you get access to one that lasts for a day, so it gives you a chance to respec your class. But that means you also have to rely on somebody else giving you good information, otherwise you're going to end up stuck in a situation where your class is crap until you actually go out and pay money to fix it, or they have another class rebalance. What I'm showing here is actually, at the bottom, you can get discounts for items based off of how much you buy in bulk. You can actually take out a loan, which is kind of weird for cash shop currency. And in those bag slots at the bottom, determine whether you're going to get any kind of extra bonuses or not. And then that bar on the side determines how much money you spent in this shop will go towards premium status. And premium status means you get better items at a better value. For instance, getting access to a permanent core change, so that way you can actually basically play a different class than the one that you started. So there is so much in this shop that could be argued as convenience. But you can't sit here and tell me that runes and those specialized mount battle gear, whatever you want to call it, that let you move at the speed of a mount while also being able to still use your regular class abilities is fair. If we were in a perfect universe where this game was no longer getting updates and nothing changed, and we were not getting more content, and we were not continuing the gear grind, or that was the grind and gear didn't matter because of those stats, I could almost argue the understanding getting on that rat race, because then it's the only rat race you're doing. But there's still expansions and updates. There's still new content being added, which means that like your standard MMO fare, when the new content drops, all old content gear is worthless, especially when they raise the level cap. So not only are you constantly trying to upgrade these runes and this other things, you're also trying to upgrade your gear, you're trying to upgrade your stats, you're trying to get more skill points, you're trying to get more rubies, which, speaking of which, they also lock extra points behind this cash shop. You can pay money to get more skill points. You can pay more money to get more rubies. You can pay points to get stat points and stat upgrades. So much of what's in this shop is designed to get you to spend money. And I understand it is a free-to-play game. They have to get their money somewhere. But this game is stepping on levels that are what are found in, like, Korean grinders. BDO is a good example, Black Desert Online. Or something you would see on a gacha game on the phone where you're spending large amounts of money to get a small amount of benefit. Only this time, that small amount of benefit not only lets you play through the game better and lets your auto battles against somebody else be good, instead of auto battles, you're going around and crashing the crap out of people in PvP. And considering that is a major portion of in-game content, and the way that the game is designed is literally wrapped around doing dungeon content and doing PvP, and when more than half of that content is focused on doing the PvP, it kind of sucks when someone is capable of just one-shotting you for absolutely no reason. It's part of the reason why I struggle to argue that free-to-play is worth anyone's time at this day and age, and why it's worth anyone's time to want to sit down and play. It hurts to sit here and think that this is what Allods has to offer on their free-to-play server. And it hurts that this is the face that everyone sees, because this is the server that everyone knows about. Anyone who's interested in the MMO scene and has heard of Allods knows it's pay to win, knows that it has issues like this, that it's egregious, that it's aggressive, even after they dealt with the whole cursed items concept of only being able to restore items that have been permanently damaged when you die, making that something that can be done with in-game money, if even done at all. Even after they kind of went back on some of that stuff and fixed it to make it more fair, they still have so many systems in place that aren't. And what kills me is this is the populated server. This is the server with the most people. I can understand coming into it to sit down and see if you kind of like the gameplay loop, if you like the art style, if you kind of like the story that's going on. But what happens is people dedicate a large amount of time trying to level a fresh character on this to see if they even like it, and they get burnt out by everything that is thrown in their face that they don't have, that they're not going to get. Even bag space is a cash shop item. So you have the standard fare of free-to-play, where you're dealing with limited bag space, where you're dealing with certain item slots being locked behind the cash shop. In this case, it's rarities for certain item slots being locked behind the cash shop. Then you have the same problem with Korean grinders, where there's a gear system that upgrades forever and ever, it seems like, because it's a treadmill that never ends. And then there's so many other currencies and other items that are needed for daily work just to play the game. Mounts even need to be fed just so that way they go at full speed. Now, when you feed them, they level up and they get a little bit better than they were before. But it takes forever for that to even work. And then to get mount feed, you have two options. Go through the cash shop or get your free small stack of mount feed that you get every day. And so you're basically trained to only be on your mount when you're moving and to get off your mount immediately because your mount's hunger basically degrades as time goes on. I cannot defend the free-to-play server in any way, but that's why I am happy to say we do have a pay-to-play server, and it's completely different. I would like you to come with me, if you would, to come see my next video, which will be linked right after this one, that only talks about what is on the pay-to-play server and what isn't, and how everything is different, how everything has changed. I hope everyone enjoys their day, and I'll see you over there. Thank you.